all get told by our elders to cherish these adolescent years we are living in, but yet it is so hard to believe. I found it is very difficult to appreciate what is happening in the present, and during the process of creating my Honors English 117 portfolio, the last thing I was doing was cherishing those long hours I spent working on it. For some reason, now that the year has come to an end and my time as a freshman is up, the tedious extra essays, rewrites, and foreign literary works will oddly be missed. My portfolio was constructed as a jigsaw puzzle, for I did not see the bigger picture at the start and was left with a small image of what the end result was supposed to look like, rather than being given the steps to get there. Finding the first few pieces was the hardest, as I was an inexperienced writer with little ability to find the deeper meaning of anything, much less material that we were analyzing. Learning how to follow a format so precisely was also a new challenge that I was faced with. However, I acquired the capabilities to do so in the end. I learned countless useful skills and can now say with confidence that I have improved in every type of writing. My research writing was probably the one skill I felt confident with at the beginning of this year, as I had to do so much of it throughout my middle school career. However, once a sample research paper was given to each member of the class and the brief lectures about the location of a period in long quotes compared to direct quotes began, I felt way over my head. Sure, I knew how to make the heading on an MLA essay, and I knew to put page number and last name at the top of the page as a header, but the small details were beyond confusing and nerve-wracking for me. It took much time online and looking through my notes to achieve what I thought was a good paper. The formality of research papers was never one thing I particularly liked as well. It was always a struggle for me to remember not to use we or us or I, but to simply state the facts and support them and place the facts in such a way that people would understand the point. Following the thesis was one of the hardest parts as well, because in a 5 to 7 page paper it can be all too easy to stray from the underlying message being given. But making a graphic organizer as well as note cards made the task of doing this much simpler than what I thought it would have been. In my group research paper entitled Misconceptions of Sharks, the following passage exemplifies formality and consistent relation to the thesis. Yet not only does the physical appearance prove to be false, but its persona as well. The shark's obsession with stalking and killing humans was completely inaccurate. Throughout the movie, the shark hunter struggles to survive as the shark continuously attacks him. Realistically, this would not occur, for sharks rarely bother people, let alone attack them. Due to these reasons, people fear sharks as many fear death. People believe sharks to be beholders of death, seeing them as malicious creatures who destroy all that crosses their path. My research writing has improved immensely from previous attempts at a decent research essay. I now realize the kind of effort it takes to write one, but that it is worth it in the end to have a strong argument or point that you would like to inform people of. My research writing was the first few pieces of the puzzle that was my English experience, as it is a strong base for all types of writing. My informational writing started out non-existent this year because it was a skill that I just recently learned. I used to think that there was formal, informal, and persuasive writing, but that is not the case anymore. Informal writing is not one of my favorites, as I usually like to get more personal with my writing, but it is a good skill to have because it is highly useful, and I know that it will be much needed in further English classes that I will take. We have all done informational writing, perhaps without knowing, at a small age, and we will all be doing it for the rest of our academic careers and maybe beyond. Although I have recently studied the technique of informational writing, I believe I have started out at a good place, and that this style will be another basis for all other types of writing that I will do, because it is a general and widely used type of writing. From quarter 1 to quarter 4, I have learned a new type of writing and have already begun improving on it. At the time I was doing this, I didn't realize it yet, but the puzzle's picture was starting to become a little more clear. The next skill I have improved on throughout these 4 quarters was persuasive writing. Unlike informational, I have been working on it for quite some time in school and have developed a strange liking for it, although it can easily come off as monotonous and stuffy when read. It is quite interesting to try and make someone change their opinion because of your words. In my quarter 3 persuasive essay concerning the issue of iPads versus textbooks, one of my better lines was as follows. It's common for all people in this country to be afraid of progress and replacing old ways, such as the iPads versus textbooks controversy. iPads should replace textbooks for an obvious reason. The weight of the textbook is ridiculous and can cause serious spine damage to young and growing kids that carry them around all day. An average textbook can be up to 5 pounds, while an iPad can weigh up to 1.3. This 4.7 pound difference can be life-changing as far as health and growth of children goes. In that essay, I used a lot of logos and ethos, and although I did not agree with the point I supported, that only made my persuasive writing better, as it forced me to practice this technique more. I believe that a certain degree of persuasion is in every essay, which makes persuasive writing one of the most important types, and a huge part of the puzzle that helped me solve my way to the beautiful picture that I can now see at the end of freshman year. The literary analyses that I wrote this year were by far my favorite type of essays, because not only was I fascinated by the movies, books, and plays and other things that we analyzed, but I liked the way I could take from it whatever I wanted to. They weren't stuffy or boring ever, and although they could end up very long and time-consuming, I usually felt that I did well on them. In my Quarter 3 literary analysis on the Shawshank Redemption, I wrote, "Another instance in which he acquires another sliver of hope is when Andy plays the music for all of Shawshank Prison to hear. And for the briefest of moments, every last man at Shawshank felt free. Small aspects of the outside save Red from following an identical path to Brooks. The simple fact that Brooks had trouble bagging groceries, forgetting to double bag, and having joint problems while Red was doing well, working, symbolizes that they went through similar scenarios, but the outcome is different because of the lack of hope Brooks had compared to the abundance of hope that Red learned to have from Andy." During the first quarter, my Catcher in the Rye literary analysis was about 95% plot, and the analytical points that I did make in my essay were already discussed in class. But my Dead Poet Society essay showed great improvement from my previous attempt to be analytical, and by the third quarter I could take thorough notes and pay attention to small phrases or actions that depicted what the author was trying to show. I was definitely the most proud of my analytical writing because I started off being sort of ashamed of it. This type of writing put into use all others I had learned, and finally my puzzle felt finished. It started with a strong base and added on slowly, with concentration and attention to detail. The picture is clear, a stunning image of what I'd learned freshman year and perhaps a foreshadowing of what is to come. I did not believe that I could be deep or express myself through a poem ever in my life, but I ended up really enjoying it. However, I can't say it was an easy thing to make up your own original poem or to slam one in front of a class of your peers, but it was all worth it. Poetry did not only help my poetic skills, but I found that all of my other writing is better because now I take more risks in everything I write, even if it's something as boring as a research paper. The poetry unit also helped me greatly in one of my biggest fears, public speaking. I dreaded the speeches we had to give in class, but after the poetry slam, I felt that if I could slam a poem about opposites, then I could give a speech about regression of society with no problem. My newfound skills in poetry and public speaking were more than unexpected, and I can't say that they were part of the puzzle, but more the frame you put it in when it's all done. It makes the whole process and outcome that much better and that much easier to cherish when looked back upon in the future. With these skills, my puzzle is more than complete, and much more than I ever would have expected. One of my favorite poems that I wrote in this class was an acrostic poem on the automat. In that poem, I wrote, "The lump, larger than a mountain, forming in the back of her throat. She swallows hard, jaw clenched, face tight. A yellow hat, bright and sunny, conflicts with her insides, pulled down to hide the eyes, because the eyes are the windows to a vacant shell she now lives in, analyzing the small coffee cup, wishing her very own life were as simple, hoping, wishing it would tell her what to do. But it never has, it never will. She looks nowhere but down, for eye contact is far too personal." Finally, at the end of this stressful, memorable year, I have grown just as equally a person as I have a writer, and although there were many fun times, I don't think that took away at all from the work ethic I created in this class, and the time management skills that I definitely learned the hard way. I started in this class with a grade that I wasn't very happy with, and ended with a grade that I could not be more proud of. However, the grades are not a true reflection of my growth this year. The true answer is in my writing, and the increased appreciation I have for literature in this world. I also take great pride in my portfolio because it is a nice feeling to have something reflected of you and your efforts as a reminder of how far you've come and how far you will be able to go in the future years. The puzzle of my freshman year is complete, hung up on a wall of memories that I can gaze upon as a souvenir and a symbol of my Honors English 117 experience.